Mind yourself now and be careful. Wounds don't heal well on Good Friday, and the devil's up and about because God is dead and can't protect you from him. So be patient until Easter, when God comes back. Everything will be alright then. But until Sunday, no loud noises, dancing, or merrymaking, lest you call the evil one's attention. Old Filipino superstition. Witches are up and about on Good Friday. With Jesus being dead and all, they tend to be more powerful, and the demons they serve or are serving them tend to roam about freely with nothing to stop them. So try not to make too much noise and keep to yourself on Good Friday. Don't worry, you can party again on Easter Sunday. Old Ilocano belief. Without God to protect you, the world becomes an even more dangerous place, and on Holy Week, for 3 days, God dies to rise again on Easter Sunday. Until then, mind your every move. The enemy is everywhere. Old Filipino movie. So we've discussed a lot of things on my channel over the years. We've talked about the night hag and how it affects people all over the world. There are also the few videos that showcase Filipino mythology and the various creatures that populate it. Now though, it's time to go over a certain aspect of Pinoy folklore that has fascinated me time out of mind. The superstitions about Good Friday in the Philippines. Before all that though, I'd like to thank all of the people who've supported and continue to support my channel to this very day. I would never have made it this far without you. It is thanks to you that I reached more than 1,000 subscribers, and why I can now proudly say, we are Legion. Now, with that out of the way, let us learn more about the Good Friday superstitions of the Philippines. The Philippines is known for its culture and folklore, from the bizarre way that our women point at things with their lips, to the fact that no party is ever complete without spring rolls. Filipino traditions aren't something you'll see in more developed parts of the world every day. Strangest of all though are our many strange customs, practices, and beliefs that can be found during Holy Week, usually starting from Palm Sunday to Easter. Some of the more bizarre things I could mention are the many prayer groups in every street corner. And then there are those people who have themselves crucified as an act of penance and a tribute and offering to our Lord Jesus Christ. Being predominantly Catholic, due to being a colony of Spain for almost 300 years, it's not surprising that these traditions and beliefs continue to hold sway among Filipinos to this very day. Just recently even, there was a bit of a ruckus in our town when a certain flagellant had to be rushed to a hospital, and turned out to be someone related to the mayor. That said, that's not what this video is about. This is about a very strange and obscure belief about Good Friday in the Philippines. In fact, one might even consider this very idea heretical. It is the near blasphemous notion that in the moment of Jesus' death on the cross, God himself dies, and, without him to protect us, evil has free rein to roam about the world unchallenged. This is a belief propagated by older generations of Filipinos and is more or less considered a folk belief by the Catholic Church, and, unlike other similar ideas, isn't even tolerated by most members of the church. In fact, I once asked our homeroom teacher about this in 3rd grade, and her response was that Jesus only ever really died once, and that God, being an eternal spirit of unfathomable magnitude, has no beginning or end, and thus cannot die. He is simply beyond it all, and cannot be weakened or defeated. Now, it's entirely possible that these folk Catholic traditions are more or less a product of the ultra-conservative beliefs of older Filipinos. It is said that by claiming that God is somehow dead, and cannot protect one from evil was probably the go-to way for the elderly to keep the youth from making too much noise or causing too much trouble. After all, at least in older days, Catholics were discouraged from any joyful activities during Holy Week and were encouraged to have much more somber moods and engage in more sorrowful mindsets. I'm not sure though if these beliefs are strictly a Filipino thing or if they can be found in other cultures as well. The first and probably least outrageous of these beliefs is that wounds tend to heal slower on Good Friday. There are those who theorize that it might have been some sort of poison or famine that caused this to an entire community at the time and caused this belief to take effect, although, like much of what I am about to discuss here, it's rather difficult to trace. Some, however, believe that it's just a way to scare children into staying home and avoiding trouble. Whatever the case, this belief is the most widespread and probably most normal out of the other notions. It was very common to hear about this concept in my younger days as just another elementary student. It was even often discussed by my classmates whenever they had a scratch from playing too much that their wounds would fail to heal properly during Good Friday. What was strangest of all, though, was that even some of their parents seemed to believe it and would panic if their kids scratched their knees while playing right before Holy Week. The prevailing notion about this is that it has something to do with Jesus' crucifixion. It probably had a lot to do with stigmata, such as saints who miraculously gained bleeding wounds similar to that of Christ, which was likely poorly understood and misinterpreted by Filipinos of the time. They thought perhaps that stigmata would or could occur in just about anyone, and was why they thought that any wounds gained during this time would result in them healing slower. Another belief that is quite common is that witchcraft becomes either easier or more powerful during Good Friday. In fact, it is believed that many witches or anyone who practiced magic often went about casting curses or engaging in various rituals as they would be more potent during Good Friday. This is of course due to, again, Jesus and God being dead and unable to hold back evil during this time, which, at least to a Catholic like me, is rather silly. Anyway, this belief posits that whenever a curse is cast on a person or a magical artifact is created on a Good Friday, it will actually be more potent. In many rural areas of the Philippines, this has led to people being more mindful with their interaction with others, especially those they are unfamiliar with. This is due to the idea that anyone might be a witch and will cast a spell on you should you cross them on Good Friday. In reality though, from both Wiccan and pagan sources, this is likely more because of the solstice or an association with the season of spring in more temperate parts of the world, something passed on to us by our Spanish conquerors centuries ago. It may also have to do with celebrations associated with the Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar, whose name is thought to be the origin of Easter. Another thing to note is that, again, these notions were probably used to scare children into becoming nicer by implying that anyone could be a witch and curse them should they misbehave. One of the more heretical notions prevalent among Filipinos during Good Friday is that the devil is somehow more powerful due to, again, Christ being dead and unable to defend humanity from evil. It is thought that during Good Friday, demons, cruel ghosts, and other evil spirits are in every corner, ready to attack unwary victims. As is the case with witchcraft mentioned earlier, curses cast by these foul beings are more powerful and tend to affect more people. While this is probably the worst of the folk beliefs surrounding Good Friday in the Philippines, it is one of the more fascinating concepts I've encountered. While I would say it is indeed heresy, it begs the questions, now that God is dead, wouldn't the rest of creation simply follow suit and also be destroyed? And what rules in the absence of God? It kind of points to the idea of an anti-God, a being more powerful than the devil but exists as a kind of direct opposite to God. St. Augustine and author C.S. Lewis, good friend to J.R.R. Tolkien and creator of the Chronicles of Narnia, briefly considered the concept of an anti-God but quickly dismissed it as heresy when they realized that God has no equal. Of course, it is nonetheless a curious concept which is somewhat touched upon by the concept of God being dead on Good Friday. As already stated, actual doctrines deny this and believe that God is around all throughout the year to protect humanity from evil. While Jesus might have indeed died on Good Friday, he already resurrected on Easter, and God the Father never really left at all. That said, as it is with earlier examples provided, this was probably just another ruse to make children behave, as it likely prevents them from wandering off and engaging in activities that prevent their parents and caretakers from looking after them. Anyway, this about sums up the ideas of evil on Good Friday in the Philippines. If you have your own stories and ideas about it, or if you come from a culture with a similar concept, please feel free to share. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Natural Juan. Natural Juan,